Hello, everybody.
Hey,
Welcome.
Hey, Julie, am I muted? I'm good. Okay.
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me? I can hear you. Excellent. Welcome everyone to Monday Night Domains. Gonna be a tiny bit of a different show tonight. I'm a little under the weather, so Dad's gonna take the lead here. I know. We're all so sad about that. Dad, what you got for us?
Well, it's a good week in the domain industry. I'm going to handle some news about the next round of GTLDs.
Oh, that's exciting.
And then I'm going to talk about the strongest part of the domain market that most domainers don't do and probably shouldn't do. But it's the strongest part of the market. And I think you have to be aware that it's there.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing some of our frequent visitors, it's where somehow, and the strongest part of the domain market is in what's called SEO domains. Meaning, if you watched our show for any length of time, we talk about the fact that a domain name is functional. You can build a website to sell products and services. And it's also fashionable and desirable. You just want to own a domain name to say you own it. So sometimes you want it for the functional part, and sometimes you want it for the fashion part or the desirability part. And then obviously, if you can combine a functional domain that also is desirable, that's when you make a lot of money. And if you can combine a desirable domain name, make it functional. But anyway, so that's what we're going to talk about. And let's get into it. Let me just retweet it on X here, because I think it's only once the show starts that my Joe Domains account offers people the option of. There it is.
Love if any of you guys would retweet the space on whatever platform or repost whatever platform you're watching on. And the more people in here, the more questions that get asked, the more we can all learn, and the more fun we have. So please go ahead and retweet the space, comment below. Let's get this going. Monday Night Domains.
Yeah, so let's see. Let me find my window here, share my screen, go to, all right, so let's see. Can you see my screen now, Julie?
I can in 3, 2, 1. Ta-da!
All right, so this is a news article that came out last week. And again, the topic here is the next round of GTLDs.
Do you want to tell us what GTLD stands for?
Yes, global top-level domain names.
Excellent.
And this comes from the idea that when the internet started, the powers that be said people are going to need domain names to connect their websites. Well, what should those domain names be? They said, let's assign one 2-letter domain name to every country in the world. And that's how we have .uk for Great Britain, .au for Australia, .ca for Canada, .us for the United States, .ai for Antigua, which is now being used as artificial intelligence, .tv for a small island nation called Tuvalu, that obviously sounds like TV.
.is?
IS is, I don't know if that's Iceland or not, or anyway, so then they said, what if you're a company that sells your products all over the world? You then want to have a global top-level domain. Makes sense, right, Julie? You're going to sell stuff all over the world, even though you could be juliehowe.australia.au if you lived in AU, and you could sell your products worldwide if you were a worldwide brand. And so they came up with 7 ideas: COM for commercial entities, NET for internet service companies, ORG for organizations, EDU for schools and education, MIL for military, G for government, and then INT, which they just kept for themselves. And so that was the organization. computer scientists, very organized. We're going to organize the whole world this way. And they put it out there. Now, what happened was the US said the people that, the great thing about the internet is it's decentralized in that one person didn't run all the country's domain names. The responsibility for managing AU or CA or TV was given to a person or a government ministry to run it in their country. So the people that got .us, they said, well, we have 50 states. Each one of those states should have their own TLD. So that's why you had CA for California.us. Then they said, we can't mix in companies and governments and organizations. So they said, we're going to have org.ca.us and co for company.ca.us. So Julie, you would be juliehowe.co.ca.us. And that's what they told you that you needed to do.
Okay, it's pretty long. It's not loving it.
But then all of a sudden people realize, well, even if I'm not a global company, what if I just want this .com? Can I have it? Yes, you can. Okay, I'll take it. And especially in the US, we just gravitated, even if you were a local business or a personal domain name, we just skipped the line and went straight to .com. We skipped over our CCTLD. And because of that, .com became hugely popular and desirable, as did .net and .org. But from the very beginning, because the operator of .com was worth, say, $10 billion, everybody wanted to run their own .com. And that's called the new GTLDs. And there's been a round that I participated in 22 years ago where they gave out 7 test bed ones. Then they gave out another 5. But in 2014, they gave out 1,000 of them. And that's why we have .shop, .store, .club, .xyz, .cfd, which we work on. But then also .horse and .training and .hockey and all kinds of other ones. And because the industry makes so much money off these new ones, they want to give out more. So they've set up a process to give out more in 2026. And in the way that only ICANN can do it, they first voted to say that they would give out more in 2026. And then they identified 95 problems with the application. And they just said, we'll fix those between now and then. But we know we're going to give them out in 2026 because that's how everyone can make more money inside the ICANN system. So now they're having to go through and actually take these issues. And one of them is, if 2 people apply for the same top-level domain, who gets it? Should it be the first one who applied? Well, if you have an application date, then everyone's going to be racing to have their computer apply within a millisecond of each other. Should it be the first company alphabetically? They didn't know what to do. So what they said was, if the people that all apply for the same top-level domain, and I'll use .club as an example. There was about 13 applicants for .club. If they can't agree on who's going to get it, that we're going to have an auction among them, and that money is going to go to ICANN. And ICANN raised $400 million by doing that last round. So this, and then here's the thing.
After you already paid a $100,000 application fee, right?
And yeah, the 400 million was a combination of the $285,000 application fee and the auction money. But here's what everyone decided. They said, tell you what if the 13 people get together and we have our own auction and we all bid, but instead of the money going to ICANN, if you lose the auction, you get the money from the person who won the auction. So to get .club, you still have to bid the most money, right? But instead of it going to ICANN, the money minus the service fee went to the losing bidders. And what happened was so many people made so much money being a losing bidder. Do you follow me?
Yeah, darn. It's like you think that'd be a good idea because then you can get the application fee back whenever you don't get the thing that was going to pay off the application fee.
Right. But now ICANN doesn't want to be seen, even though they're totally out to make money, they don't want to be seen that way.
Right. It's all about perspective and branding is what
So what they've said is we're not going to let that happen this time, but we don't know how we're going to do it. We don't know how we're going to give them out. So in typical ICANN fashion, they just, so here's what they announced this week. They announced this week that the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to apply for a TLD, like say you and I applied for .disco. That's my one that I always use as my example, .disco, the whole TLD built around disco. And say someone else applies for disco. We would have to go on an auction with each other. So what ICANN is saying, what you're going to do when you apply for .disco is you're going to put up a second choice. Like you can apply for .disco and you can apply for .crazy day or something that you don't think anyone else will ever apply for. And then if you apply for .disco and someone else applies for .disco, you paid $300,000. Instead of losing your money, you'll get your second choice. And because they make the rules, they're just telling everybody, Julie, that they should be happy about that. But no one is going to be happy.
Well, what if someone has the same second choice as me? And then B, to make that not happen, it's going to be a crappy TLD that I'm going to waste $300,000 on.
Right. And they're just basically saying, that's okay, we're going to do it. And we make the rules and you just have to go by the rules, even though you don't know what the rules are. Unless you're friends with all the people that run it, then you might know the secret rules.
Yeah.
So when we talk about Freename, shout out to our sponsor Freename, who came out with Web3 TLDs. And these, again, don't work on every computer, but they're working on more and more computers.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I'm excited about Web3 TLDs is even though they don't work like Web2 TLDs, I think one day they might. This is not financial advice. Do your own research. Because this other system is so messed up. You know what I mean? That it just, they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said there's got to be something better.
Yeah, and everyone thinks if you get one of these TLDs from ICANN, you're just going to make a whole bunch of money. But the TLDs that are out there are all selling for some of them under $1 for each domain name because that's all they can do is price them cheap. And then someone else sells theirs for 99 cents and someone else sells theirs for 89 cents and someone else sells theirs for 79 cents. But it's still $20 the next year. And they're just hoping that you forget to click off the auto renew. You know, when you buy a domain name, they're like, hey, we know you don't want to lose it. So we're going to put you on auto renew. And that just means next year they can charge you for it. And you're like, I didn't want to renew it, but they already did.
But with the increase in TLDs, that's not going to be nearly as effective. Like, I'm interested to see how the old TLD, because people are really just now learning that they need to market TLDs to begin with. Like, that is a very, we started that concept with .cfd. And that was what, last year, the year before? And so those companies are trying to catch up on selling their TLDs and marketing their TLDs, and they're going to have to compete with 1,000 other ones. So I think the brands that are starting now marketing their TLDs now are going to be the only ones that can possibly survive the launch of the new TLDs, personally.
Yeah, because the only other choice, Julie, is you have to pay the registrars like GoDaddy and Namecheap to be kind of like when you go shop for a hotel and they have the Expedia recommended hotels. They're not the highest rated, but they're paying to be up in the search engine. So that's another way. If you own a TLD, you can pay to be, or a lot of the companies.
Prices are going to jump when there's new TLDs.
And a lot of the companies that own the registrars, they also own their own TLDs. Now, they're not supposed to favor their own ones. But what you and I have talked about is that we like marketing CFD because it does work on all the computers. We like that. And then we have to build a brand. But then I also say, as long as you're going to have to do the marketing, having people click a little button to see your Web3 TLD, you can just incorporate that into your marketing. just like, along the way, download an app along the way. That's people are used to that. So what I wanted to talk about was just this fact that they came out with these rules, and just listen to some of these words. ICANN has published the first early draft. They want to change at the 13th hour in a shock move. So you may think you know the rules, but at any given time, the rules could change. Now, if you do want to apply for one of these new TLDs, there's lots of ways to do it. One of them is that Freename has a service that will help you apply for these TLDs. So we're staying abreast of all these rules. These ideas that they float them out for a public comment period. To be honest, they usually don't listen to the comments. I mean, if you had 100 comments that all say it was a bad idea, they'd say, well, you guys don't know what you're talking about. We're still going to do it. You know what I mean? And I know that gets me in trouble with ICANN, but that's just what I've seen for 20 years. So now you're going to have your primary domain name, and then you're going to have a replacement one, but you have to pick a replacement one that no one else has picked. And Julie, your question was perfect. Well, what if someone else does? And they're like, they just have these blinders on. No one else will. No one else will. You know?
Well, it's just you're getting, I mean, even if best case scenario on that, you do get your second choice domain, like, you're getting a crappy TLD.
That's exactly what this author said. Pick a crappy string.
Well, and that's going to end up that everyone is getting a TLD, which is good. Everyone deserves a TLD. But you're not going to get good ones, and you're going to be competing with more. You're going to have a crappier TLD competing with more people who have TLDs.
Right, and that's why I tell people, like with yes, and that's why I tell people with like my .summer or .v, at least I can start marketing now, get people excited now, and on the ICANN path, you're hoping that they figure out the process. And in the Web3 path, you're hoping that more people can see Web3 TLDs. But at least in the Web3 path, you're not having to pay the $300,000 up front and then hope that they get it figured out. And so that's why, at least for me, it's a risk-reward decision. So that's my news of the week when it comes to the new GTLDs. All right. See if we have any questions about that.
More Than SEO has a quick question.
Okay.
Let me see. Can you see that?
Let's see.
There we go.
Are you seeing any unstoppable selling in the secondary market for revenue producing Web3? No, I haven't. I see unstoppable going in the direction of trying to be a successful Web2 registrar. And I don't know if there's been a lot of innovation on their Web3 side. That being said, the reason I wanted to talk about, and we'll be done in about 10 minutes, Julie. I wanted to talk about SEO is because there was a movie, I forget what it was called, but the whole reason it was about these 4 or 5 guys in LA it was called Singles maybe or something. And the phrase they kept saying was, dude, that's money. Dude, that's money. You know what I mean? That's money. And that meant, it was gold. And SEO domains are money. You'll see in this report that I show you that every day, if I look on Domain Chain here, and it says these are the names that sold yesterday. So sarahmaitland.com sold for $1,500 yesterday.
Interesting.
Puration Inc. sold for $2,500. GroovyDuckBakery.net sold for $3,000. Odisha News Insight sold for $3,700. Ernie's Steak sold for $5,100. Old Bull Shorts sold for $7,700. Now, there's no doubt that some names that sold yesterday, like lovewhatyoudo.com for $2,400, Cannabis Cookies for $1,300. Those of us that are just regular domainers, we can picture that that's a good domain name. It sounds good. It's 2 keywords spelled correctly. It should have that value. But I might pay $1,300 because I like Cannabis Cookies. But Odisha News Insight, I'm not buying that domain because of how it sounds, because I think I can resell it. So why did Old Bull Shorts sell for 7,700? And this isn't someone maybe sold it. This is like, for it to sell for 7,700, someone had to bid 7,500, 7,600, 7,700, right, Julie?
Well, was it sold on auction?
Yes.
Okay, I was gonna say, I wonder who had the courage to put that up for 7,700 and not take lower. But if it was sold on auction, never mind.
Well, there's no courage needed. GoDaddy,
yeah, that's what I mean. I
tells their customers' names. If you don't renew your name at GoDaddy, before they have to pay, if you don't pay for it, they sell it. And if they don't sell it, they get a refund for your fee. So they can't lose. It either sells at auction and then they get the renewal money and they renew it, or it doesn't sell at auction and they give it back and they don't have to pay the renewal. So they aren't looking at these names and deciding what to keep or not. They just put out, it's about 40,000 names every day, and they just get the money from the ones that sell with no risk whatsoever on the other ones.
Got a question.
Yeah.
More than SEO.
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Yeah. Did those high dollar domains sell for Majestic Trust Flow or Ahrefs, or is there a new SEO metric? So what More Than SEO is saying is that the people that know what they're doing in this area, they go to a site, this is one, Ahrefs, and it says that oldbullshorts.com has a domain rating of 20, meaning on a scale of 1 to 100, it's a 20, which is pretty good. It has 620 backlinks. It has 340 websites linking to it. So this is a functional use that if you bought this domain name, all the traffic that's coming to it now because of its rating, you don't know for sure if that's good traffic or not. But the people who are paying these prices, they have years of experience knowing if these names pay off. You know what I mean? It's like they know that if they take this name and they forward it to their crypto site or their store or their fashion store, whatever they're doing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That it's going to give them traffic, but you still have to convert that traffic. You still have to have a good product or service when those people come.
Right.
As opposed to paying Google, every time you get traffic, if you buy a domain name, it's like the cow that you milk every day. Every day, at least until the links wear off, it's going to be giving you traffic that you just paid for one time, and then you only have to renew it for $10 a year. And so this is a for sure value of domains. And it's the complete other end of speculators. Speculators are hoping and wishing. The people that are really good in this area are looking at statistics. And so
I would love to see the stats on that from someone, because you are right. You've got to have step one is having the content and the product to get the turnover from that click. But I wonder what the stats are on people who have, high SEO rated domains pointing to their stores. I wonder what their sales metrics are compared to people who just have their one.
Yeah, so I found a site that was free called seekahost.com, and I'm not showing you these names so you'll buy these names. I just want to show you the world that you're in, is that people here can look at all these names. This was actually from October 18th, and they can see their DA and their PA. So you go to their guide and you look up what is a DA, and let me get down here. It's domain authority, DA, or PA is page authority. And what More Than SEO mentioned was the Majestic metrics, something called citation flow and trust flow. And so you can see all these names. Let me find my old screen. Hold on. And you can look at their citation flow and their trust flow. Now, as a newbie, you don't want to go in here and buy the best names on the stats, because in my opinion, if they're still available, it means the smart people knew that these stats weren't really real. You know what I mean? That, they were technically ranked that, but so you really have to wait until you have a good understanding. But when you look at NameBio or the other sites that report what sold yesterday, and you see names like this, don't go out and think that because grooveryduckbakery.net sold for $3,000 that you should go buy Cool Duck Bakery, because someone's going to come at you with a $3,000 number. It sold because it wasn't a speculative name. Someone knew that they were buying link traffic on this name. And I'll wrap both of our things together. And this is why I'm so glad that we have more than SEO and some other creative people listening to us. Is this, if we can use Web3 domains to capture some of this link traffic or this real value, you know what I mean? Not just speculative value, but real value. That will propel Web3 domains faster than they will be propelled by just speculation value. Now, I don't know what that's going to look like, but that's what the rhythm of it is going to be. The domain name industry was built upon traffic. Even if you didn't believe in domains, in 2001 to 2005, if a name was producing $10 a month, you knew it was worth a certain amount of money because it was producing $10 a month, $120 a year. So you didn't have to wonder if it was worth anything. You know what I mean? You're like, it's worth that money. And then the speculative values became greater than the traffic values. And that's why but when I was doing domaining in 06 and 07, I was one of the very few people that wasn't buying on traffic. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so yes, I want to challenge everyone to keep thinking of ways where, like More Than SEO said, we can make the Web3 domains, how can they shortcut to produce the type of consistent revenue that makes things valuable, and then we will get people's attention. You know what I mean? Because you'll be able to say, hey, this is how much money I made, or this is how much money you can make from having these names. But I wanted to tell you that if you're getting in the business now, this would be a hard part of the business to learn. But the reason it keeps going higher is corporations are hiring SEO companies and giving them budgets of like 20 to 50 to 100,000 a month to buy domains. So they have to buy these names. Go ahead.
It is becoming almost as big of a part of marketing as like social media marketing, and it is that specialized because it is so new, and a lot of people are able to profit on teaching other people how to use it, and then doing freelance work to get it optimized. So it's something that could be very, very, very valuable to learn.
Yeah, and one of the ways you could use it is to buy an expired domain name that had traffic that came from people looking for domain names, and then maybe you could forward it to your Web3 reseller page. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what people build, is they build these private networks where they have lots of different pages pointing to their page, getting traffic from lots of miscellaneous places. Now, the last thing I'll say is, I used to do financial planning, and I bought and sold oil wells. And an oil well can produce a bunch of oil this month, but what's really important is how much does it produce next month and the next month and the next month. If there's only so much oil in the ground and it pumps it all out this month, you know what I mean? Then there's nothing left for next month. But if you paid 20 times this month's revenue for it, you know what I mean? Thinking, oh man, this thing's going to pump out money forever. So you really have to accurately know if it's declining and at what rate is its value declining to know what to pay. So, but on the flip side, if we can catch an increasing value, then you can buy stuff for its value now, show that it's going to increase its utility, right? And then all of a sudden, a year from now, people are like, oh, we pay this much for a name like that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's my thing. Anyway, Julie, thanks for listening. You learned a lot tonight. I hope about the new GTLD process, and then this segment of the market that's the strongest. It's getting the most money attracted to it, and it's the furthest from speculation.
I like it. Hopefully I would love to talk more about this maybe next week. When I've got some more time. As for everybody in the comments, go ahead and let us know what your favorite name that you bought and the one you're trying to sell is this week. Let us know if you have any questions that we can answer next week. And I hope